Yoojin lived an everyday life raising his brother, before the gates even appeared. But when monsters started coming out from the gates, he and his brother became estranged and their lives changed. His brother became one of the strongest hunters, while Yoojin was abhorred and ostracized by the public. Yoojin gets to redeem himself, and he gets the chance to go back in time before he awakens as a hunter. He plans to live a quiet life, but people, and even monsters, start to follow him, and they won't leave him alone. Gates started appearing all over the world. Researchers studied the phenomenon, but life moved on for everybody despite the concerns. The same applies to Yoojin Han. Yoojin takes a rest from loading boxes in the truck. His colleague throws him a bottle of water. His colleagues learn that Yoojin is working hard to save money for his younger brother's college. With their parents passing at a young age, Yoojin had to drop out of school to support them. Nice. Our MC's serious about responsibility. Yoojin proudly shows a picture of his brother to his colleagues while praising how handsome, tall, good, and super talented that brother of his. His love for his brother became apparent as he droned on about how great he was. And we got an MC with a brother complex. He only stops when he remembers that his brother, Yoojin, will be getting out of classes early. In a different area, a handsome student sits inside the bus as he looks over the gate. This student is probably Yoojin, the object of Yoojin's affection. Yoojin talks with his colleagues regarding the booming moving business. Because people are moving because of the gates, Yoojin looks at the gate in their area and realizes a noticeable change in the gate. Its original blue color has changed to red. Red is definitely bad news. With a loud thud, the truck they are on suddenly stopped. Yoojin climbs off to look and sees a giant bird-like monster on top of their vehicle. With a swoosh, the beast attacks the truck, and Yoojin sees a horde of flying monsters over the city. So, to explain a bit of the story's setting, the gates became portals leading to other dimensions that people later called dungeons. From those gates, monsters got through. It was also discovered that monsters could only get through if the dungeon wasn't cleared, causing monster overpopulation. Yes, they get overpopulated over time. This phenomenon where monsters come out is later called dungeon break, and if dungeon breaks coincide or break in great numbers, it is called dungeon shock. Returning to Yoojin, he runs towards the monster with a stick and calls for his boss. I doubt a stick would do any good in this fight. Suddenly, the boss lady stops the bird-like monster from attacking with her bare hands. This girl is on fire. To give humans a chance to fight against these monsters, certain individuals have awakened. The awakened were later called hunters, responsible for hunting monsters and clearing the dungeons. With the existence of dungeons, hunters became the most essential occupation in the world. And as for Yoojin's younger brother, Yoojin Han, the handsome young man from the bus stands amongst the monster's corpses. His hands are enveloped in black fire. Yoojin's baby brother, whom he loves so dearly, became one of the world's strongest S-rank hunters that day, an OP character for a brother. 8 years have passed since the dungeon shock. Time skip. A woman shows her awakened powers in a show, explaining the status window and how it shows a list of skills a person can use. This person is Yumi, who has an affinity for mold and moss, and developed phytokinesis as she awakened. She became a hunter after the incident and joined a guild. They go to dungeons to find mana stones, rare gems only found in dungeons. With the existence of S-rank hunters, challenging dungeons can be cleared, and these are also more rewarding. Among them, Yoojin Han is one of the most famous S-rankers in Korea. He has created the Haeyeon Guild and is known as the youngest guild master in the country. And at 25, he is already rich beyond belief, and there's no mention of Yoojin. The program continues with an interview with Yumi, who expresses that E-rankers like her can only dream of becoming rich. The interview cuts to the news that this hunter, featured in Hunter Files' show, recently died in a dungeon raid. Oof, this reminds everyone that being a hunter comes with a great price. The TV droned on as an injured man listened in a crouched position. Wait, is this the MC? A gate is open in one area, and people are littered outside. A man wearing a red jacket complains to his boss about hiring an F-ranker wimp like Yoojin Han in their raid. Yoojin sits in a chair, looking down with 2 crutches beside him. He removes his mask as he acknowledges the complaining person. He's going to enter a dungeon in that condition? The boss stops the complainer from making more ruckus. The red jacket dude complains some more and said how Yoojin gets to survive every raid, while the rest gets wiped out. He kept talking more crap, adding salt by mentioning how Yoojin abandoned Yoojin. No, Yoojin raised him into what he is today. How could he abandon his older brother? What happened in those 8 years? Seriously. Hearing this insult got Yoojin all riled up. He grabbed the complainer. The complainer simply laughs and kicks Yoojin in the chest. The guy mocks Yoojin for thinking he can mess with a D-ranker like him. Yoojin can only curse at him. Their team boss approaches Yoojin and gives him a buff by hardening his bones. While this won't heal Yoojin's legs, he can move more manageably in the following hours. The boss tells Yoojin to ignore the other guy. Yoojin can only grin and accept these words. Yoojin apologizes to the boss for having to mediate between them and encourages the boss while he's at it. The boss smiles and gives his thanks. They both stood up, and the boss walked away and smacked the red jacket dude in the head. The boss scolds the guy for bullying Yoojin and proudly says that Yoojin's a walking encyclopedia on dungeons and monsters. Yoojin's knowledge might save you one day. Yoojin activates a skill and checks his influence. He confirms that guild leader Shopwu Lim is under his influence. Yoojin doesn't care if he gets called ominous or parasite, because those names are not entirely wrong. The guild leader calls for Yoojin as they'll enter the dungeon. Yoojin swears that he'll survive with his skill. I wonder what his skill actually does. Inside the dungeon, hunters are fighting monsters using their skills. The boss reminds them to be careful, while the others are busy with the hunt. Yoojin is busy mining for mana stones. The red jacket dude tells him to keep up, since the guild will take 80% of everything he digs up. He's basically working for scraps. As the rude guy kept saying crap, Yoojin started imagining him as an evil stepmother who won't stop nagging at Cinderella. Yoojin started singing listlessly as he thought about how his brother abandoned him after awakening. Despite his begging, Yoojin left, and Yoojin got drafted into the military. He still has to serve despite the chaos. At this time, Yoojin built his own guild, Heian, that grew unrivaled in their country. And it looks like his brother has already forgotten about Yoojin. As Yoojin was left behind, he could only think about awakening himself. He chose to take all his savings and go to a broker to help him awaken. The broker tricked him into signing a contract, and Yoojin did manage to awaken. Except, Yoojin only awakened as an F rank. I think this proves how Yoojin cared for his brother to the point that he barely cared for himself. Awakening with a useless rank only made him get criticized by the media and fall into debt. Yoojin had to clean up his mess, and he bluntly states Yoojin's title of nurturer, custodian, or caregiver. We'll stick with caregiver. Whatever it is, Yoojin got the title for raising an S-ranker. Yoojin tells him he shouldn't be so shameless, for he can't nurture him, because all Yoojin does is cling to his feet and drag him down. You're the shameless one, Yoojin. With Yoojin's bad luck, his legs broke in one of his dungeon raids. He asked Yoojin for help, but Yoojin refused to lend his brother a healer. Yoojin even thought it would be better to have his brother's legs broken so that he'll stop going into dungeons. He tells Yoojin to live a quiet life and stop dragging him down. If I was Yoojin, I'd spank his brother until he learns manners, even if that guy is one of the strongest S-rankers. Yoojin grimly grins as he thinks of the past and how he's useless as an older brother. He may be a parasite, but believes he can still survive in a dungeon with his skill. He can give the influence person a small buff with his care and encouraging words. That is his primary skill, but it's insufficient to let him survive. His title as a caregiver has given him a hidden skill that has saved his life every time he is in a pinch. A system suddenly informs Yoojin that his final thanks skill has been activated. The skill lets him gain double the effect of the target's skills and stats. Instead of being glad, this makes Yoojin nervous, and he starts limping to where everyone is. Yoojin's hidden skill, Final Thanks, lets Yoojin gain double the effect of the target's stats and skills for a limited time. He survived a dungeon all this time because of this specific skill, but this skill is ominous. To activate the skill, it means that the target under his care is dead. The skill effects are sound, but the activation cost isn't something a sane person would really wish for. Yoojin rushes as he limps and reaches the hunting party. The ground is filled with blood, and Yoojin finds the body of the guild leader on the floor. He hears growling and looks up. A monster with 3 heads has the rude guild member in its mouth. The red jacket dude curses at Yoojin for jinxing them, and those were his last words as he died. What a way to serve justice. Looking aghast, Yoojin can only stare as the last member dies. He realizes the monster is Rao-Chi-Taz, the Dragon King of Venom and Curse. Nobody has ever slain it, and it's a Tier 1 dragon deemed undefeatable. So what is it doing in a D-rank dungeon? The three-headed dragon, Rao-Chi-Taz, looms over Yoojin. Yoojin limps as he ponders why it is in a D-rank dungeon. Yoojin uses the skill, Fortify Legs, on himself to give him a better chance of escaping. This is the skill the guild leader previously used on him. With its double effects, he runs away as he thinks of a way out. I doubt it'll make much difference. Rao-Chi-Taz's tail narrowly misses him and hits the rocky ground instead. The monster launches another attack with its tail as Yoojin thinks of how he can survive. The tail thwacks him, and Yoojin flies off and tumbles. He spittles blood from his nose and mouth, thinking he is no match for the monster. The guild leader's memories started entering Yoojin's head, showing him what had happened with Rao-Chi-Taz. The memories only horrified Yoojin more, and he trembled as he realized he couldn't move his legs. Seeing how a person horribly dies will make anyone squirm. The Rao-Chi-Taz roars as Yoojin clenches his eyes shut, thinking he doesn't want to die. A loud explosion goes off, and Yoojin is whisked away by Yoojin. Shocked by his brother's appearance, Yoojin can only ask. Yoojin hides Yoojin behind the rocks and tells his brother to stay back. Yoojin turns his back as Yoojin warns him, "Yeah, OP bro is here, but we're still mad at you." Yoojin faces Rao-Chi-Taz and activates his skill, Blue Willow Leaves. A swirl of blue willow leaves appears, and Yoojin dashes toward Rao-Chi-Taz by stepping on the leaves. As Yoojin reaches one of its heads, his sword gets wrapped in black flames, and he stabs a monster's head with it. The fast movement of his brother amazes Yoojin, as he thinks this is how an S-ranker fights. Yoojin sees one of the heads gurgling a green substance from its mouth, and he leaps away. Yoojin screams for him to watch out because there is no antidote for Rao-Chi-Taz's poison, which can cause a curse when it touches him. Big Bro helping Lil Bro with his walking encyclopedia skill. Hearing this, Yoojin activates Titan's shield before Yoojin, but some poison still splashes in Yoojin's clothes. Yoojin can only yell his worry as his brother slashes another head of Rao-Chi-Taz. This melts Yoojin's blade, and Yoojin observes his brother's constrained movement. Yoojin realizes that it is because Yoojin is protecting him. He ignores his big bro, then saves him now. Yoojin scolds Yoojin as he fights. He told his brother he should have learned his lesson when his legs broke. Yoojin can't help but talk back to Yoojin, but Yoojin just yells at him to hide. "You're confusing everyone, Yoojin." Yoojin's scolding made Yoojin think he was indeed a useless brother. Yoojin hoped that Yoojin was there to save him because they were brothers. But hearing those words from Yoojin only made him feel worse about himself. Yoojin equips his sword as he talks about how having an older brother like him must have been really tiring. Yoojin sees this and tells Yoojin to get back to safety. Yoojin doesn't listen and stabs Rao-Chi-Taz in the foot, getting a monster head's attention. Stubborn fool. Yoojin tells Yoojin that he should just let him die there since he is only slowing Yoojin down. With him dead in the dungeon, there's no need for a funeral, and Yoojin's guild will be thrilled with his death. Rao-Chi-Taz roars as it attacks Yoojin. Yoojin squeezes his eyes shut, so he doesn't see Yoojin attack the dragon with his black flames. Is this how he redeems himself? Wondering why he's still alive, Yoojin opens his eyes and sees his brother embracing him with wounds on his back, and Yoojin wonders when things got bad between the two of them. Yoojin and Yoojin were very close. They got orphaned at a young age, and Yoojin has cared for his brother ever since. Yoojin asks Yoojin if he's okay. No, he obviously isn't. Yoojin is all confused as to why Yoojin would still protect him. Yoojin coughs blood as he tells Yoojin that the Rao-Chi-Taz falls asleep every 5 hours, and will fall back asleep in an hour. At that time, Yoojin should take advantage of this time to escape. Yoojin started thinking that what was happening was wrong. He remembered how Yoojin ignored him when his legs got broken, how Yoojin pushed him out of his life, even when asked for help, and even told him to learn his place. But what is Yoojin doing here? These thoughts ran through his head as Yoojin gave him a gate stone to escape the dungeon. Yoojin rejects it, saying Yoojin should use it himself, but Yoojin says it's useless. He won't be needing the gate stone. Yoojin plops into Yoojin's arms. Yoojin calls for his brother, but a flash tells him it's useless. With his caregiver title in effect, the skill, Final Thanks, gets activated and will last for an hour. A system announces that the skills and stats of Yoojin Han will be transferred at double effectiveness. Yoojin bursts with blue light as he receives it. Even if Yoojin never really activated the skill, Yoojin is still recognized as someone under Yoojin's care. The Rao-Cheetahs attacks Yoojin by stomping its foot on them. Yoojin activates the blue willow leaves to escape with his brother in his arms. As they got to the ground, Yoojin could only scold himself as he embraced his brother's dead body. Yoojin manifests a spear using Yoojin's black flames and gently settles Yoojin to the ground. Yoojin stands up and stabs Rao-Cheetah Su in one of its heads. He comments on how slow Rao-Cheetah's is now that he's twice as strong as his S-ranker brother. I love and hate Yoojin's skills at the same time. As Yoojin fights, he also receives Yoojin's memories. Flashback time. Yoojin learns that his brother is F-rank, so he decides to keep his distance, so that Yoojin will not be seen as Yoojin's weakness, and this will keep him safe. Yoojin commands his people to keep watch of Yoojin. Yoojin scolded his people for letting his brother get hurt, to the point that his legs got broken, and he commands everyone to take out everyone who did this to Yoojin. Yoojin not providing a healer, kicking Yoojin out, and giving him money were all decided by Yoojin, so that Yoojin would stop entering a dungeon. But deep inside, Yoojin is sorry that he has to resort to these actions to keep Yoojin safe. Every bad thing between them happened for the sake of protecting Yoojin. These memories entered Yoojin as he fought Rao-Cheetahs. He leaps on its head and uses it to jump higher, and from above, he slashes Rao-Cheetahs, killing it. It rains inside the dungeon, and Yoojin looks at the fallen monster. The memories he received from Yoojin enlightened him about what he was unaware of. Not only Yoojin, but all of us were also enlightened. But still, Yoojin should have lent some healers for Yoojin's legs. Or maybe, I don't know, tell him why he was doing those things instead of trying to hide it. The skill Final Thanks is reaching its 1 hour time limit, and once it deactivates, Yoojin will soon die because of the dragon's poison. Yoojin can only embrace this death. Out of nowhere, the system lets him know that he unlocked an impossible achievement by single-handedly hunting a dragon, giving him the title of Dragon Slayer. With it, he'll also receive 10 gate stones, 5 tier 1 enchantment drafts, the Red Dragon Great Sword, and a wish stone that can grant any wish once. There are lots of gate stones, but no one can use them now. Despite receiving a lot of rewards, Yoojin has zeroed in on the wish stone. He asks if it can bring back his brother, but the system immediately tells him it can't return the dead. Yoojin could easily wish to be more powerful, become the greatest hunter, and get anything he wants. Still, it is useless since he only wants to have his brother back. With these thoughts, Yoojin wishes to turn back time before his brother's death. Yoojin promises to live a quiet life away from the dungeons. He changes his wish to turn back the time even before he awakens, even if the time comes that he will regret it. Good job on being specific with your wish. The system asks him for confirmation, and Yoojin affirms that he wants to turn back time. He will not let this happen again, and the wish stone glows as it grants Yoojin's wish. Give me a wish stone. I also want to be a regressor. Yoojin springs up and looks around. He identifies the space as the Heian Guild headquarters and checks that he returned to 5 years ago. Yoojin remembers that this was the day before he went to the Awakening Broker. Yoojin then remembers what is about to happen in that room and looks at the door. The door opens, and Yoojin immediately scolds Yoojin as he comes in. Yoojin tears up as he sees his brother alive. With thoughts on how everything is back to how it was, Yoojin dashes at Yoojin and hugs him tight. Yoojin was shocked, but he lets his brother hug him. Yes, they can make up now. Yoojin starts apologizing to Yoojin. He admits he's wrong and apologizes for everything while hugging Yoojin. Yoojin asks if Yoojin did something, and Yoojin calms him down. Yoojin pats his brother's head as he hugs him, saying how things have been hard for Yoojin, and how he's been a terrible brother for not realizing it. Yoojin pulls back and promises Yoojin that he'll behave from now on, so that Yoojin will stop getting stressed because of Yoojin. Yoojin starts hugging his brother back. Keep your promise, Yoojin. Yoojin feels a bit embarrassed, but he is happy that he can fix his relationship with his brother back to the way it was. Yoojin calls Yoojin baby brother and tells him, "I love you," with the resolve to finally forget Awakening. or become a hunter. He suddenly receives a system message congratulating him for his awakening. The system announces that he has gained the legendary Dragon Slayer and Perfect Caregiver titles. With the Perfect Caregiver title, he receives the skill, My Kid is the Best, which increases Yoojin Han's growth speed by 100%. An OP support is born. Yoojin remembers that this was the day he had a huge fight with Yoojin and ran off, but today is very different. Yoojin is in the kitchen cooking dinner for Yoojin. Yoojin can only sit down and feel awkward with the current situation. Yoojin opens his status window while he waits for his brother to finish cooking. He sees he still has the Dragon Slayer title and starts feeling off about it. The Dragon Slayer title is an L rank or legendary rank title higher than S rank. Yoojin clicks on the title and 4 skills appear. He gains 3 L grade resistance for poison, curse, and fear, making him immune to these ailments below the legendary grade, while the last one is a double S grade skill called Rao Cheetah's Bane, making Yoojin the natural enemy of Rao Cheetahs and other dragon-type monsters. Cool skills. I wish there was also sleep resistance. Seeing the skills, Yoojin starts thinking he has become one of those heroes who becomes the most powerful person after regressing. Yes, you are, in a way. He starts daydreaming of Yoojin fighting Rao Cheetahs and how he protects Yoojin from the boss. He even imagines having Yoojin make googly eyes as Yoojin praises him or carrying Yoojin in his arms. Yoojin thinks he'll be invincible with this skill and is now an S ranker or even an L ranker. He taps on his status and sees that the stats are still low, meaning he's still an F ranker. Yoojin can only cry as he imagines how Rao Cheetahs can quickly kill him with a swipe of its claws. Ha, you wish. Thinking that the L actually stands for loser, he checks his other skills. His dexterity and intelligence boosts are still at E grade, while his title Caregiver upgraded to L rank, and has new skills under it. His Final Thanks skill upgraded to L grade, but he dismissed it. Creepy skill. He checks the L grade skill, My Kid is the Best, and learns that the growth rate of the target can be boosted for 3 days if he uses the keyword. Yoojin gets shocked to see that the boost could be doubled, thinking that his brother would be stronger with a double rate compared to other hunters. Yoojin then checks the double S grade skill, My Kid is so great. The skill activates if he cheers the target in front of at least 5 intelligent beings using the keyword. The boost is based on the number of intelligent beings who heard it. So if 100 humans heard it, the growth would be 100%, which is the max boost Yoojin can provide with this skill. These 2 skills are pretty great. Yoojin thinks these 2 skills can make Yoojin the most powerful hunter in the world in no time. And if he uses it with the whole guild, Hey will be the strongest. Yoojin imagines how his skills will make him rich and famous until he sees the keyword, I love you. Yoojin bangs his head on the table, making Yoojin worried, saying, I love you to your brother and in public. I feel you, bro. Might as well forget about that skill if you ask me. The keyword has changed because of his second awakening. Yoojin imagines that saying, I love you to everyone he meets will easily send him to jail. Yeah, saying that to a kid you don't know is kinda, just don't go there. Yoojin looks at the last skill, Promising Sprout. It's an S-grade skill that lets him check the potential of an unawakened individual. Imagining the possibility of using his other skills on a target will help them reach their optimal potential. Yoojin finishes cooking and serves Yoojin food. Yoojin eats and compliments Yoojin's cooking, making his brother happy. Make Yoojin happy and keep praising him, Yoojin. Yoojin expresses his shock at learning that his brother knows how to cook. Yoojin admits that eating his own food is safer to avoid poisons and curses. Yoojin was struck by realizing that some people did this to his brother. Yoojin gets angry and grabs his brother's face, scolding Yoojin for not telling him this. But Yoojin can only say that this is the path that he chose. Don't worry, F-rank big bro will protect you now. Yoojin then admits that he regrets their falling out. He pretended he wasn't close to Yoojin, so that people wouldn't exploit Yoojin. Yoojin didn't want to burden Yoojin with this, and thought Yoojin wouldn't understand. Learning that he was wrong, Yoojin is happy that his brother still cares and loves him, and the two enjoyed a meal together for the first time in a while. You guys should have just talked it out in the first place. They finished their meal, and Yoojin stood to get back to work. Before leaving, he ensured Yoojin deleted the broker's contact information from his phone. As Yoojin leaves, Yoojin says he'll take care of everything before leaving, making Yoojin pause. Yoojin then says that Yoojin will stay with him from now on. He states that Yoojin can't go outside, shocking our MC speechless. We have another brocon. This time it's worse. Yoojin asks Yoojin what he means, and Yoojin smiles, saying it's dangerous outside. Yoojin explains that now that they are close again, Yoojin will not be safe anymore. Yoojin's enemies will be all over Yoojin, and he can't just let him wander outside. Yoojin reiterates that Yoojin will now stay and live with him, overprotective bro. Yoojin makes the run for it, but bars start appearing out of nowhere, and a mover asks for his signature for bringing all of his stuff. We need insta-movers like this in real life. Yoojin says that Yoojin's place is now empty. Yoojin tries to argue, but Yoojin reminds his brother's words of love and how he forgave Yoojin for his previous actions, meaning Yoojin agrees to live together. Wow, saying I love you means you can live together immediately now. Yoojin is stuck in Yoojin's place with his stuff littering the place. He wonders if the reset affected his brother's head in treating him like a kid. Yoojin takes some essentials and decides to bail, but as he opens the door, he sees the prominent figure of a man in a casual suit. The man glares at Yoojin as he asks what he can help him with. Yoojin identifies the glaring man as Song-han Kim, an A-rank hunter of Heian that serves as Yoojin's right-hand man because of his defense skills. Yoojin asks if he can get through, but Song-han refuses because it was the guild master's instructions to keep Yoojin there. Yoojin then argues, but Song-han threateningly tells him to go back inside. Yoojin starts to get afraid like a rabbit before a bear, but a system interface appears as he thinks he can't back down. Yoojin activates his L-rank skill, Fear Resistance, removing the intimidation effect Song-han has on him. Oh, so that's how it works. Yoojin stops fearing Song-han and tells him that detaining him like this is a crime, but Song-han only grabs him by his clothes and lifts Yoojin up. Desperate, Yoojin looks at his other skills and uses Promising Sprout. The use makes him stop and look at Song-han closely. Song-han is currently an A rank, but he can potentially become an S rank, and his S-grade skills are locked. Yoojin concludes that if Song-han becomes an S rank, Heian can have 2 S rankers. Yoojin yanks on Song-han's head as he tries to unlock using his skill. The system informs him that the target is not under his influence. Yoojin needs to use the keywords, and activate My Kid is the best skill to unlock his target's full potential. Yoojin thinks that having Song-han under his wings will grant him his freedom, but saying I love you to the A rank is somewhat cringe. Song-han starts to get irritated, but Yoojin refuses to give up. Yoojin draws a heart with his fingers, making Song-han only stare. Yoojin tries again, but this time with both hands and a wink, only making Song-han angry. He makes Yoojin go back inside. In the end, he can't say the keyword. Our MC can only fall on his arms and knees, thinking the keywords must be changed. Yoojin comes home seeing an almost dead Yoojin in a mess. Yoojin takes his brother from the floor, commenting how he still hasn't unpacked. Yoojin weakly answers that he's only a prisoner. Yoojin says he'll eventually let his older brother out. This snaps Yoojin from his stupor. Yoojin explains that Yoojin will be free once Heian becomes the most powerful guild in the country. Yoojin promises that it will only take a year. Still, Yoojin gets depressed because he knows this took Yoojin 3 years to accomplish. Yoojin promises he'll still let his brother leave the house as long as Song-han or he is there to watch over Yoojin. But Yoojin retracts, saying he can't always take his brother out because clearing the dungeon can take several days. Yoojin treats his brother like a pet that needs his walk. The thought pails Yoojin, and he tries to find a solution using his abilities and knowledge. As a regressor, he knows the hunters that will reach the highest rank, and if he contracts with them, they can be his bodyguards. He can even stop Yoojin from bossing him around if he can do this. With that, Yoojin announces that he'll find an A ranker. Yoojin looks at his brother in confusion, and Yoojin confirms he will. While Yoojin thinks about finding an A ranker or an S ranker that he can easily sway and sweet talk. Outside, in an alley, a girl with poor clothes and shoes looks up at the sky, foreshadowing Yoojin's new recruit. Yoojin asks Yoojin how he'll find an A ranker himself. Yoojin fumbles, and Yoojin leers at his brother, stating that Yoojin has awakened. Yoojin starts barraging Yoojin with questions about how he awakened and his skills. Yoojin panics and thinks about how he can't tell the truth to his brother, or he'll be locked up forever. Yoojin then tells Yoojin that he's only an F rank at most. He can predict whether a person's ranking will be high or low, and how awakening is limited to only once a month. Yoojin thinks about it and admits that it's not enough to make Yoojin a target. Still, Yoojin says that Yoojin's abilities will soon be obsolete because of the development of an awakening center. The center will help people have a safe awakening. Yoojin smiles and says his skills are useless, so Yoojin should let him go out and find himself an A ranker. Yoojin finally agrees, but Yoojin should still stay at Yoojin's place. Yoojin is ecstatic about getting Yoojin's permission. He gets ahead of himself, thinking he can create a guild greater than his brother's. Yeah, but you still have your brother as a warden. The next day, Yoojin, accompanied by Songhan, goes to the Korean Hunters Association Awaken Registration Center. The place is a mouthful. Let's just call it the Registration Center in the future. People are abuzz with Haeyeon's A-rank appearance, thinking he's accompanying a new big-shot hunter. Nothing to see here, people. Yoojin registers, and everyone learns he's only an F rank. People kept murmuring, even commenting that Yoojin pretended to be an S rank. Well, not his fault. You all jumped to the wrong conclusion. Yoojin takes out an envelope that Yoojin gave him as pocket money for purchasing equipment. His eyes go big when he sees it's 1 billion won. Yoojin's insane, but I want to be his brother. Yoojin headed to the Hunter's Mall on the 6th floor and was welcomed by the staff. They showed him equipment meant to increase his magic power, but those were too flashy for his taste. He takes the studs of Dark Fairy, which adds 29 magic power, Manticore leather gloves adding 61 stamina and 20 strength, and a light fabric belt adding 16 dexterity. Then Yoojin spends the rest of his money on contracts, potions, and more. He's basically a pay-to-win player. Songhan was waiting for Yoojin downstairs by the car. Songhan questions where Yoojin has been, and reminds him to always tell him where he's going. The two of them were about to go, but Yoojin said they still had somewhere to go. Yoojin thinks about the Ice Witch Yirim Park, who lives around the area. He remembers that she used to live with relatives. Yirim was a well-known A-ranker before the reset, so getting her will satisfy his brother. Yirim is to awaken 3 years from now when she turns 18, so meeting and making her sign a contract while she's barely in high school would be good for him. She's probably the girl previously shown at the end of Chapter 7. Yoojin visits different barbecue places and asks people about Yirim, but everyone he's asked so far says no. Yoojin eats a corn dog and asks Songhan if they should just eat there. Then he sees a girl shouting at an older man. The girl bumps into Yoojin as she leaves, and Yoojin finally identifies the girl as Yirim. Yep, it's her all right. Seeing her run away, Yoojin passes his corn dog to Songhan and runs after her. It was only possible because he equipped the light fabric belt. After some turns, Yoojin finally spots Yirim and calls for her. Yirim ignores Yoojin and just runs away to the streets. She stops when a loud honk and flash of lights come from a running vehicle. Yoojin leaps and saves Yirim from getting hit. Nice. For a second there, I thought Yirim would become an isekai heroine. Yoojin asks if Yirim is okay and laments how he didn't land with a heroic pose. Yirim sits on Yoojin's back with a foot on his face as she asks him if he's a hunter. Yoojin says he'll explain, but she should move first. It could have been a more awkward position than that. Korean barbecue sizzles and Yoojin drools as he looks at it. The art is so good that it's making me drool like Yoojin. Yoojin tells Yirim to dig in, while thinking that it was a good thing that he brought the corporate card. The two starts talking, and Yirim confirms that Yoojin is the Haeyeon Guild Master's older brother, and she wonders why Yoojin is recruiting someone like her. Yirim doesn't really believe Yoojin and decides to leave. Yoojin stops her by claiming that he knows Yirim's parents, who used to help him and his brother when their own parents passed away. Yoojin wants to repay them by helping Yirim out. Yirim returns to eating and says Yoojin's okay since he's not trying to rip her off. The world has been too harsh on you, girl, and you've met a liar. Yoojin tells Yirim that he sees potential in her while thinking about how he could help her. Yoojin explains that his skill can help people get their powers, and he says that Yirim will at least get a B rank. And with Haeyeon's backing, Yoojin can sponsor Yirim, if it's okay with her. I smell a bit of nepotism here. Yoojin reaches his hand out to Yirim and once again offers to sign a contract, and he'll make her a hunter. To make Yirim more inclined, he offers her the terms by pulling out a parchment and a pen from his inventory. Yirim gets excited when she sees this, and Yoojin assures her that she'll also get it when she awakens. Yoojin explains that the parchment is made from materials found in dungeons. Signing on it means she'll enter into an agreement with him. The terms are as follows: join the Heian Guild after awakening, never divulge Yoojin Han's skills, and serve as Yoojin Han's bodyguard for a year. Yoojin explains that someone wants to lock him up for being a helpless F-ranker. Then Yirim asks him if he doesn't feel embarrassed for letting a teenager protect him. This stabs Yoojin right in the head. Yoojin then explains that Yirim will be more powerful than him after her awakening. I don't think child abuse applies if the child is an S-ranker, so Yoojin's safe here. Yirim then asks if awakening means she can live on her own. Yoojin explains that awakened minors can gain status as an adult. Hearing this, Yirim decides to sign her name on the contract. Yoojin immediately stops her, telling her to finish reading it first, and add her terms to the agreement. Yirim then realizes that she almost made a mistake. Yoojin explains that she'll be on the losing end if she blindly signs contracts. He teaches her to negotiate her terms carefully. He explains why she would still need a legal guardian to guide her. Yirim asks what if the guardian rips her off, the guardian may take all the money she makes. Yoojin asks what Yirim means when a man suddenly screams at her. I think she's being abused by her relatives, and it's this guy. The man is Yirim's uncle, who starts reprimanding Yirim before Yoojin even introduces himself. Yirim's uncle starts pulling on her, telling her she has to work or she'll be sorry. Yoojin tries to calm the man down and holds onto the other guy's arm, but the man accuses Yoojin of having a relationship with his niece. This shocks and irritates Yoojin so much that he starts squeezing the arm he's holding. The man yells to let him go, but Yoojin ignores him and looks at Yirim. Yirim is standing, avoiding their gaze, feeling uncomfortable. It is when Yoojin sees Yirim's tattered shoes and remembers the previous yelling. Understanding dawns on Yoojin, and he says she is better off without a guardian like this jerk before them. Finding someone who understands her, Yirim agrees and says her uncle is the worst. She starts telling about how her uncle took all of her parents' money and never gave anything to her. She then tells about how he would only give her cheap plastic umbrellas during the typhoon, but those would break and he wouldn't get a new one. So she has no choice but to use plastic bags to remain dry. People around them hear the commotion and start murmuring how this is child abuse. Yirim's uncle gets angry and pushes Yoojin off him. Yep, he's non-biodegradable trash. Yoojin tumbles down loudly, shocking both Yirim and her uncle. Yirim asks if Yoojin is okay, but Yoojin remains seated on the floor. Oof, now you're causing harm to Yoojin's precious brother. Yoojin was seated on the floor for a second, then suddenly started rolling and shouting that the other guy was beating him up for no reason. He starts crying and acting like a victim who only tries to protect the girl. Yoojin says the guy would beat Yirim like this, acting all pitiful. And the award for Best Actor goes to, rolling on the floor, Yoojin. Yirim's uncle got really angry that he grabbed Yoojin by the collar. Yoojin doesn't miss the chance to tap his foot next to the other guy's foot, making the other person lose his balance and fall on his face on the table. Yoojin then stands up and tells the other that spilled soda made the floor slippery. Not yet done with Yirim's uncle, Yoojin keeps hold of the other's head, asking if he's okay in a loud voice. Yoojin gets closer to the guy and whispers how he shouldn't have ripped off his niece while threatening to put the guy's face in the griller built into the table. Now that is what I call justice. A loud sound stops Yoojin from threatening the other guy. He looks at Yirim, but Yirim only compliments him, thinking that the sound came from Yoojin, smashing her uncle's face to the table. Yoojin says it wasn't him while still holding on to the other guy's head. A loud rumbling sound was heard throughout the area and people started panicking. Songhan then appears, still holding on to Yoojin's corndog. Good work, soldier. You follow orders well. Songhan tells him they should go because a monster is in the area. Outside, a monster with multiple tentacles, eyes, and sharp teeth is causing havoc. There was a dungeon break and it released this monster. Songhan tells Yoojin to return because it's dangerous there, and he tells them he'll buy them some time. Songhan fist flashes as he activates his A-rank defensive skill, Terra Shield, on the ground. The ground changes and forms a wall that protects them from the monster. Songhan tells Yoojin to get to safety, but Yoojin is shocked as he thinks this kind of thing didn't happen in his past life. This is definitely a sign of something wrong with the current timeline. Song-han tells Yoojin to go before he leaps and attacks the monster with a falling kick. Song-han realizes it's not the monster's main body, and the tentacles start slithering around him. People are still panicking on the other side of the wall that Song-han made. People were running, and among them were Yi-rim and her uncle. With her tattered shoes, Yi-rim falls down, and her uncle sees this. Instead of helping his niece, he only looked back and continued running. I hope he suffers eternal pain. Tentacles come slithering toward Yi-rim, but Yoojin immediately stops them with a big shield. Yi-rim is stunned, and Yoojin tells her to run towards a shelter. Yoojin pulls on Yi-rim's hand as they run toward a shelter. This is how a grown-up should act. Learn from this, Yi-rim's uncle. The two discover an underground shelter, and Yoojin tells Yi-rim to hide there. Yi-rim asks what about him. Yoojin answers that he has to go back as he thinks of what type of monster it is and how to defeat it. As a defense-specialized hunter, Song-han wouldn't have wide-area attack skills that could kill the beast. Yoojin was still thinking of a way when Yi-rim gripped his arm and told him she would help. She can immediately help if Yoojin awakens her now. Yoojin reminds her that she still hasn't signed the contract, but Yi-rim promises she wouldn't change her mind after things settle down. Because of this reasoning, Yoojin doesn't want to let her come. Yoojin explains to her that awakening wouldn't make her a great fighter instantaneously. It will safely awaken her and not throw her to battle immediately. Listen to Yoojin, Yi-rim. Yoojin remembers how Yoojin fought on his own when he awakened. Oof, this event is bringing up bad memories for our MC. With this thought, he swears that he wouldn't forgive himself if he let a kid fight alone. Yoojin tells her to get to safety again. Yoojin runs off as he thinks of how to beat the monster. He reaches Song-han on the safe side of the wall with a pole. Song-han asks why he was there and yells at Yoojin to get to safety. Yoojin ignores Song-han's words and just commands Song-han to use his shield skill. Song-han says it's useless, but Yoojin tells him it would be enough since he has a plan. Yoojin and Song-han look over the monsters on top of the thick wall that Song-han made. Song-han readies himself and again uses Terra's shield on top of the border they're in. The earth rumbles and moves in to make a shield. Instead of making another wall, the earth closed in on the monster, covering it from all sides and sealing even the top. As the earth stops moving, Song-han thinks he would never have used his skill this way. Yoojin tells Song-han it's his turn as he leaps off and runs towards the hole left by Song-han's skill. Yoojin plans to use the A-rank black poison pill he bought back from the association earlier. They'll kill the monster by popping one of those in an open shield and immediately closing the barrier. Before Yoojin can even throw it in, he stops, shocked to see that the monster is missing. Wondering where it went, tentacles emerge from the sewage and pull Yoojin by the ankle. He danbles in the air as he realizes the monster hid in the sewer. It was a miscalculation, and he wonders if this is his end. I doubt it's your end since this story can't continue without you. The end of an umbrella whacks on a tentacle, and Yi-rim appears with an umbrella extended by a wooden pole. Yi-rim kept on attacking the monster that held Yoojin. Her attacks worked in a way, and Yoojin dropped to the ground when the monster released him. She's stubborn, but if it wasn't for her, Yoojin might have died for real this time. The two run towards an alley while Yoojin scolds Yi-rim for not listening, saying she's only a civilian. Yi-rim talks back by shouting that Yoojin's only an F-ranker. Ouch. Yoojin answers that he's at least an awakened grown-up, unlike her. Yi-rim reminds Yoojin that he's an adult who wants a teenage girl as his bodyguard. The two kept bantering as they ran. Yi-rim knows that she's a minor, but is the exact reason why she needs her own powers. When Yoojin saved her, she was relieved to have someone who really wanted to protect her. And at the same time, it made her angry for being helpless. Instead of relying on others' help, she wants the ability to protect herself and the freedom to make her own choices. And to do that, she wants Yoojin to teach her how to be strong. For a teenager, she's really ready to face life challenges head-on. The monster is almost upon them, and they stop running. Light starts to gather as Yoojin grips Yi-rim's hand. There was a loud boom, and Song-han could only look over from where he was with eyes open wide. The tentacles are frozen mid-attack, and Yi-rim's hand is stretched upwards with a remaining magic circle. Yi-rim has cast Frosty Sigh on it, and the system congratulates her for awakening. She looks at Yoojin happily and announces that she got an S rank. She's making me cry with happiness. Yirim shows off her skills at Yoojin, while Songhan can only stare blankly. Yoojin scolds Yirim that she should not tell everyone about her skills. Yirim kept on talking, but the monster was still alive. Yoojin shouts to watch out behind her, as a tentacle grabs Yirim's arm. The tentacles shock Yirim, and she immediately smacks the monster while yelling "Mommy." The attack makes Yoojin and Songhan's faces pale with shock. The monster is stuck on the wall, and Yoojin thinks Yirim is truly an S rank. Yirim is happy and says that she'll take care of the rest. She borrows the poles Songhan was holding, and with a clack to the ground, a blue light appears. Rocks get thrown Yoojin's way, but Songhan protects him with his skill. Yirim activates the Sandals of Hermes, and with a whoosh, she attacks the monster. And more rubbles fall on Songhan and Yoojin. Yoojin screams at Yirim to take it easy, or she'll kill them all. Yeah, she's a bit out of control. While still floating in the air, Yirim apologizes, saying she's still not used to controlling her powers. Yoojin looks up at her, reflecting on his previous life and how they called Yirim the Ice Witch. Instead, what he sees right now is a cheerful girl. She definitely turned into a witch because of that uncle of hers. Yoojin comments on how her awakening is unexpected, and would have been an added bonus if she had an AoE skill. As Yoojin says this, someone beside him says he'll take care of it. With a flare of his hand, Yoojin engulfs the remaining monster in his black flames. Yoojin really loves his brother. This amazes Yirim, as she sees how Yoojin's attack cleanly defeats the enemy in one move. Yoojin looks up at her with a frown on his gaze. He probably thinks this girl is a potential enemy for his brother's affection. Looking at his brother's back, Yoojin comments on how Yoojin came to save him. Yoojin looks at his brother and calls him brother with a dark look. Yoojin rushes to Yoojin and scolds him, thinking he should have locked him up. Yoojin introduces Yirim to Yoojin as Yirim goes back to the ground. He introduces her as a new S-ranker who can keep him safe. Yirim shyly says hello to Yoojin as she realizes that Yoojin is not lying when he says his brother is the guild master of Heian. Well, to see is to believe. Yoojin proudly says that Yirim will sign with him, while Yoojin only comments on how she's still a minor. Yoojin scratches his face as he tells his plan to become Yirim's legal guardian. This shocks Yoojin, and he argues that his brother can be just the girl's sponsor. Yoojin's more shocked by this revelation than by her being an S rank. Hearing this, Yirim asks if there's any difference between a legal guardian and a sponsor. Songhan then explains that a sponsor can't get involved in the personal affairs of the beneficiary, meaning they can't protect the beneficiary if they enter a contract that's disadvantageous to them, while a legal guardian can act as a parent to their ward. Yirim gets shocked that Yoojin will be her parent, and she tells him that he doesn't have to go that far for her. Yoojin agrees with Yirim, saying that she's a total stranger. Lil Bro is panicking. Yoojin calmly tells Yirim that he must do so because Yirim has a jerk for an uncle, but you will still leave the decision to Yirim. This infuriates Yoojin, and he snatches his brother, saying he won't allow it for his brother's sake. Then he tells how there are many cases of powerful minors who assault their weaker legal guardians. He also mentions that an S-ranker would never listen to an F-ranker. Yoojin frowns at Yirim and asks Yoojin what he'll do if Yirim beats him up. Yirim can only say that she wouldn't do such a thing, and that she's a nice girl. Yoojin glares at Yirim and shouts that he'll just do it himself if she really needs a guardian. This irritates Yirim, and she says no thanks, since Yoojin has already volunteered. Yoojin really wants his brother for himself. Yoojin says that Yirim might one day change her mind. Yirim says she wouldn't since there's a contract to keep Yoojin safe. She angrily asks Yoojin if he is sure that he's not the one who's trying to hurt Yoojin. That won't happen, Yirim. The two fought like fire and ice, and Yoojin could only try to calm them down. Hearing his brother speak up, Yoojin puts an arm on his brother's shoulder and starts dragging him away, saying they'll go home. It annoyed Yirim more that she grabbed Yoojin's arm to stop them. Crack. With Yoojin in between two S-rankers, his shoulder dislocates, and Yoojin and Yirim panic. Yoojin can only weakly say that they should leave him alone. It's dangerous to be in between an S-ranker's fight. Yoojin worriedly asks his brother if he should get him a healer or potions. Yoojin points at Yoojin and starts scolding him. Yoojin asks if this is how he raised him. With a finger still pointed at Yoojin tells his brother that it's Yirim's choice if she'll get a legal guardian. Yoojin scolds Yoojin, saying he should be grateful that Yoojin got him a new S rank to join their guild. Yoojin falters and tries to reason, but Yoojin keeps on scolding him. He tells Yoojin that he can't go home yet because he still needs to clean up, and that Songham Kim is waiting for him. He commands his brother to do his job as a guild master and shoos him away. Unable to talk back to his brother, Yoojin hesitantly leaves his brother with Yirim. Yoojin tells his brother that they'll talk later, and he'll be done in no time. Seems like Yoojin can't talk back when his brother scolds him. Yoojin and Yirim watch Yoojin leave with Songhan. Yirim then comments on how she didn't know that Heian's guild master could be such a jerk, and how she liked Yoojin before because he was handsome. Yoojin's a jerk when his brother is involved. Yoojin then points over a rock and yells at Yirim to not come near him and sit on the rock instead. Yirim immediately follows, apologizing for being unable to control her strength, and asks Yoojin about his shoulder. Yoojin assures her it's just dislocated, as he crouches down to pick up one of Yirim's tattered shoes. Yoojin helps Yirim to put on her shoe and comments on how Yirim's uncle gave her worn-out and wrong-sized shoes. He then tells her they should buy a new pair tomorrow. Yirim is happy as she tells Yoojin that this reminds her how it typically happens in rom-com dramas. Before she finishes her sentence, she gets so distracted by a fly that she just smacks at it. Yoojin managed to evade, but he still got hit a bit, causing his nose to bleed. Yoojin says this really got his heart beating fast, except it's out of fear. Yirim can only apologize for what happened. At least the fly's dead. Their serious talk continues. Yoojin mentions that he's only nosy, answering Yirim's question about why he would go so far for her. Yoojin explains to Yirim how he has been in her shoes before, and how things were rough when their parents died. He had wished for someone to help him and his brother out back then, and how he might not be the most reliable guy. Yirim looks at Yoojin and mumbles that Yoojin is reliable. Yoojin smiles at this, and Yirim teases him for wanting her to become his bodyguard. Whatever the case, Yirim looks forward to having Yoojin as her guardian. The two bump their fists as Yoojin thanks her. Yoojin mentions that he may not be able to love her like her parents did, but still, Yoojin tells her, "I love you." This line makes Yirim tear up and laugh hard, saying that it's gross. A system appears and announces that the S-ranker Yirim Park has responded to the keywords and is now under Yoojin's care. Yirim Park was caught. Before the two of them can go, Yirim's uncle appears and tells Yirim that he's worried back then. "Yeah, right. You left her on her own." He then asks Yirim if it is true that she got her awakening, and tells her how she could make a fortune with that. This disgusts both Yoojin and Yirim, as they realize they still have to deal with this jerk. Yirim's uncle tells her again how worried he was when he lost sight of her. He asks if Yirim really did awaken, and Yirim answers that she is, and that she's now an S-ranker. Yirim's uncle is all smiles as he exclaims how they've hit the jackpot. Yirim then tells him she's moving out and has signed a deal with Yoojin. This shocks her uncle, who gets angry, telling her she's only 16. Which, of course, Yirim corrects because she's only 15. Yoojin interjects and explains the special act on hunters, where hunters can live independently at 14. See, you don't even know her actual age. Yirim's uncle shouts that he's never heard of such a thing, but Yoojin simply shows his phone to the man. Yoojin plays a record of their previous argument in the barbecue place. Yoojin tells him they could also get the security camera footage from the restaurant as evidence. Yoojin argues that the man is unfit to be Yirim's legal guardian and runs off without Yirim in her time of need. The uncle rebuts, saying he didn't do such a thing. The two continue to argue while Yirim can only sadly look away. Yirim's uncle swats the phone and grabs Yoojin by the collar, saying he'll sue Yoojin. Yirim can't take it anymore and uses the umbrella to crash it between the two arguing men. Yoojin nervously reminds Yirim that she can't attack civilians. Yirim looks angry as she looks down, but she turns all cute and innocent when she looks up. Wow, she's also an actress. She learns fast. Yirim cutely tells her uncle he shouldn't use violence as she holds the umbrella. Her uncle answers back that Yoojin is the one who's trying to scam him. The umbrella snaps between Yirim's hands. Her uncle looks at her in horror, while Yirim smiles, saying she doesn't know what he means. Yirim continues to crack on the umbrella as she reminds her uncle that he's the one who pushed Yoojin and how he tripped on his own earlier. The crunching sound and aura that Yirim emits horrify her uncle. He starts to wonder if she's the same teenage girl he used to know, because she's like a deadly predator as she crumples the umbrella into a ball. She's a new S-ranker. She's obviously fatal. Yoojin didn't turn off his fear resistance, making him immune to whatever Yi-Rim did to her uncle. Yoojin merely thinks that she is scary since she is an S-ranker. Ignorance can be bliss. Yi-Rim steps closer to her uncle and tells him she doesn't owe him anything. The metal umbrella is now crumpled into a ball. Yi-Rim asks why a legal guardian can't even provide a kid a proper umbrella. She tosses the metal ball and her uncle plops down to the ground. Yi-Rim then tells her uncle that nothing can stop her from turning him into a ball herself, but she will let it go. Yi-Rim lets her uncle know that it is because he is worthless. He doesn't deserve her time and effort. Yi-Rim tells him to always remember these words and that he shouldn't try to be clingy or trouble the people around her. Yi-Rim proudly says she'll do more than crumple him if he forgets this. Her uncle remains seated on the ground, agape from what just happened. That'll teach you to stop being shameless. Yi-Rim approaches Yoojin, asking if she did a great job imitating him. Yoojin can only think about how he should set a better example for Yi-Rim in the future. And that is how Yoojin recruited Yi-Rim to the Heian Guild and ended his house arrest. But it seems that he has forgotten something. Yoojin wakes up from his sleep when a door slams open. Yoojin sits up. He sees his brother and asks what's wrong. Yoojin stomps his feet toward Yoojin and asks him to hand over the things Yoojin bought from the association. Can't believe he forgot his overprotective brother. This worries Yoojin, and he asks if he has overspent. Yoojin asks Yoojin for the black poison pill. Yoojin shows the pill, and Yoojin immediately snatches it away. Yoojin asks how Yoojin knows he bought those, but Yoojin doesn't answer. Instead, Yoojin asks Yoojin if he can't count on him. Yoojin asks what Yoojin means. With eyes tearing up, Yoojin hugs Yoojin. Yoojin says he knows that Yoojin bought the pill as a last resort. He tells how Yoojin plans to use those if Yoojin's enemies come after him. Yoojin is sure that Yoojin will use the pills to take his own life instead of letting the bad people take advantage of him as a hostage. This freezes Yoojin because he has no such plans. Lil Bro's faith in his brother's selfless love is boundless. Yoojin looks at his brother with love and tells Yoojin that he shouldn't resort to such drastic measures. Yoojin tried to correct him, but Yoojin kept saying he wouldn't let anything happen to his brother and would always be there to save him. Yoojin proved this before Yoojin's reset, even when they had a falling out. Yoojin was planning to use the pills to clear a dungeon, but he thinks he can't tell his brother that he has a legendary grade poison resistance. In the end, Yoojin can only reply with his thanks to his little brother. The two go down the elevator and Yoojin asks his brother if everything has worked out with Yi-Rim. Yoojin says that Director Sok has already visited Yi-Rim's uncle. They uncovered all the bad things Yi-Rim's uncle did, and they got him to sign a settlement. This indicates that he'll never contact or approach Yi-Rim, and in exchange, Yi-Rim will drop her lawsuit. Yoojin assures his brother that they used carrots and stick to persuade the guy. You should have just settled with the stick. As they leave the elevator, Yoojin confirms that this is what Yi-Rim wants, and then they drop the subject. Yoojin informs Yoojin that Yi-Rim should have acclimated to her powers since she's in the training room all night. They enter the training room, and Yoojin explains that it was built to withstand damage from S-rank attacks, letting Yi-Rim go all out with her attacks. But what they see is entirely different from what Yoojin just said. Everything in the room is destroyed, and some pillars are still falling. Yeah, built to withstand damage. Bro got scammed. Yoojin remarks on how the room should withstand S-rank attacks, while Yoojin can only mumble. The brothers can only stare at the destruction. The room is unrecognizable with all the destruction Yi-Rim caused. She punches a punching bag, which shatters to pieces as it turns to ice. Yi-Rim quickly activates a different skill called Shadowless Day. The skill lets her spread her shadows out. Yoojin wonders what's happening, and if Yi-Rim's okay. With a tug, Yoojin realizes that he can't move his foot that was stepping on one of Yi-Rim's extended shadows. Oh, is this like the Shadow Possession Jutsu from Naruto? Yi-Rim activates the skill, and everything within the shadow gets engulfed by it, including Yoojin. This completely surprises Yoojin, and Yoojin can only call for his brother's name. Yi-Rim's shadow continues to move, and she stomps her feet as she runs and punches the floor. It creates a loud boom and cracks the walls. As the wall crumbles, Yi-Rim takes a rest when she hears Yoojin yelling. This is why the training room is in such a state. Yoojin wakes Yoojin, who faints and becomes white from Yi-Rim's shadow skill. Yoojin manages to wake up and even compliments Yi-Rim for becoming strong. At the same time, Yoojin keeps on yelling, trying to keep him awake. Seeing the state Yoojin is in, Yi-Rim shrieks and tries to wake him up herself. Like a loading machine, Yoojin starts up and gets shocked. Yi-Rim asks Yoojin if he's okay, as she pulls the hood of her jacket down. Yi-Rim looks brighter and more innocent with her shorter hair. Still out of it, Yoojin asks who she is. Shocked, Yi-Rim reminds Yoojin and asks if he has amnesia. Yoojin finally recognizes her, and Yoojin explains that they gave Yi-Rim a makeover. Wow, perks of being an S-class. The styling team of Heian set it up before she visits the registration center. Yoojin admits that it looks great, and he's sure that Yi-Rim will be able to get offers from sports drink companies. Yi-Rim says she has to look the part because she'll be on television. S-rank means instant celebrity. They then got into the talk of her registration, and Yi-Rim tells all of her skills to Yoojin. She has Frosty Sai, which can freeze, the Sandals of Hermes for flying and teleporting short distances, and a Shadowless Day, which can buff and debuff multiple targets. Shadowless Day can boost her chosen stat and skill, and she can absorb the target's shadows to slow them down and add the effect to her buff. This explains why the training room is in shambles. Yi-Rim reveals that she has another skill called White Corpse that lets her collect information from dead bodies. Yoojin comments that it may seem sketchy, and Yi-Rim says she would rather have gotten another attack skill. She could become a detective using this skill. Thinking about it, Yoojin advises Yi-Rim that she can leave it out for now. Yoojin explains how a hunter doesn't need to disclose all of their skills when registering, which also applies when revealing the skill effects. Yoojin's guidance makes Yi-Rim happy, saying that Yoojin is a real expert. Yi-Rim holds onto Yoojin's arm, and Yoojin compliments Yi-Rim for learning to adjust for strength. This exchange surprises Yoojin, and he goes between the two. With a frown, Yoojin tells Yi-Rim that Yoojin learned all those things for him, and that Yi-Rim should keep her distance from his brother. Possessive bro on the loose. Just hope he doesn't go full yandere. This irritates Yi-Rim, saying she wasn't even talking to him. Yoojin says he's only assisting. Seeing the two starting to argue, Yoojin tells him to stop. In front of the registration center, Yi-Rim emerges from a Heian guild-owned luxury car and casual sporty outfit. There are a lot of flashes as news reporters take her picture, announcing that she is the 8th S-rank, combat-oriented hunter to appear in Korea. Behind a pillar, Yoojin looks over with Song-Han beside him. Song-Han says that Miss Park was very disappointed because Yoojin wasn't tagging along to her registration. Yoojin explains that he had a bad experience with crowds, and now that Yi-Rim is well known, she will hardly miss him. And if Yoojin accompanies Yi-Rim, Yoojin will surely get jealous, since Yoojin wasn't there when he registered. Yoojin can only be happy that she finally has her own life to live. Yoojin thinks about how the snobby ice witch is gone, and a cheerful, outgoing teenager is in her place. He also thinks about the dungeon break that didn't happen before the reset, and is worried that the future he knows is changing. Yoojin can only accept his fate, and just decides to just look for potential recruits. Yoojin scans the crowd and uses his skill, Promising Sprout. Most people are F rank, so he thinks finding another S rank will be hard. Out of nowhere, Yoojin dashes from the pillar, surprising Song-Han, who is guarding him. Is it another recruit already? With thoughts that significant changes are already happening, Yoojin thinks it'll be alright if it's for the better. And if a pearl in the mud appears before him, with his skill, Yoojin will polish them and make them shine. Yoojin runs toward a long-haired person in a white shirt and black bag worn in front. Yes, wear your bag in front of you if there's a crowd. As Yoojin reaches him, Yoojin grasps at the person's arm, and Yoojin's skill indicates that the person is Myung Woo-yu, an F rank awakened with a potential F rank. And Myung Woo-yu has an unlockable optimal skill that is double S rank. A new OP target was found. And wow, a double S rank. Is there also a triple S rank? Myung Woo-yu asks who he is, and Yoojin activates his acting skills and speaks cheerfully. Yoojin acts like the two were long-lost friends, and he introduces himself. The confused Myung Woo-yu says that he can't remember. Don't worry, dude, you really don't know this weirdo. Yoojin says it's okay, since it's been ages since they last met. Deep inside, Yoojin thinks that they actually never met before. At the same time, Yoojin checks out Myung-woo's unlockable double S-grade skill. It's called the Master of the Golden Smithy, and it's a crafting skill. With a double S-grade, Yoojin is sure that Myung-woo can create double S-rank equipment, which costs a fortune. Yoojin had never seen anyone with this skill before the reset. If Yoojin helps Myung-woo unlock this skill, everyone will flock to them with money bags. Looking at Myung-woo, Yoojin thinks the slouched, tired-looking man is a walking gold mine, though he really doesn't look the part. Yoojin asks Myung-woo how he has been, and if he got his awakening. Like you don't know. Myung-woo says he did, but he only got an F rank. It may be only F, but it can still get a modest subsidy. Yoojin calls him a buddy and says that he's also an F rank. He then asks Myung-woo if he wants to get basic hunter training with him. Myung-woo rejects it, saying he's only there for the subsidy, and the essential training costs money. As an F rank, no one will hire him. He's broke right now. Yoojin grasps Myung-woo's hand with both of his and says he should come with him to get the training for free at his guild. This confuses Myung-woo, and Yoojin says he'll put a good word for Myung-woo. It's that smell of nepotism again. Suddenly, Yoojin was grabbed by an angry Songhan. Songhan reminds Yoojin that the training is only for guild members. Yoojin makes a face saying that the guild can afford to give a freebie to his friend. Still angry, Songhan tells Yoojin to follow the rules. Yoojin convinces Myung-woo that he deserves it. These words of encouragement make Myung-woo cry, asking if he really deserves it. Myung-woo cries loudly, shocking both Songhan and Yoojin. Yoojin gives Myung-woo a cup of coffee. The sun is already setting, and Myung-woo has finally calmed down. Myung-woo says it has been so long since anyone has been so nice to him. Myung-woo always had a knack for building things, which had won him awards. But as he grows old, these things won't matter, and one has to focus on studying. And Myung-woo is terrible at studying, and his family can't afford to support him. With everything happening in his life, he got into debt, and now he has nowhere to go. Let me give you a pat on the head and a hug, Myung-woo. Yoojin looks down, saying he knows how it feels. The times may have changed, but the people didn't. People still discriminate. They won't be welcome if one doesn't have powerful combat skills or healing skills. Yoojin contemplates how people believe achieving success means following one set of tracks, and how you'll get stuck in the dirt even with a hidden skill. Yoojin thinks this happened to Myung-woo in the past, but he never heard of Myung-woo because of this. This time, Yoojin believes he can change everything. Yoojin stands up and curses. He encourages Myung-woo that the two of them should stop worrying about what others may think. He tells Myung-woo to raise his head and stop slouching, or he'll end up paying for back surgery. With arms stretched up high, Yoojin then yells that he loves himself and that people may not know it yet, but he is extraordinary. Yoojin looks back at Myung-woo and says they should keep telling themselves these kinds of things, and Yoojin tells Myung-woo, "I love you." Great job in inserting the keywords Yoojin. Myung-woo looks at Yoojin with awe and thanks him. The system announces that Myung-woo has responded to Yoojin's keyword and is now under the care of Yoojin. From there, Yoojin thought it would be smooth sailing from there, but what he received for an answer was a strict no. Shimyong Sok, the director of human resources for Heian Guild, explains that the guild can't offer free training to a complete stranger. Yoojin pleads to let it go just this once. Shimyong explains that they can't do that because people will complain about why the guild would offer such a privilege to some rags. Rags for now. The insult makes Myung-woo pale, and Yoojin admonishes Shimyong for saying such words. Shimyong answers that these might be what people will say. Yoojin once again pleads, saying Myung-woo is the real deal. The HR director admits that Yoojin did discover Miss Park, but it might also have been a fluke. Shimyong fixes his glasses with his middle finger, making Yoojin yell at him. He'll be sorry in the future, Shimyong. Tired of the conversation, Shimyong tells Yoojin that it hasn't been a week since he fell for a scam. He also tricked his brother to let him stay in the guild, and now he's committing nepotism. Yeah, nepotism. With the guild's best interest in his mind, Shimyong questions Yoojin's motives. Myung-woo worries for Yoojin, thinking that Yoojin is receiving all these insults because of him. It's not you, Myung-woo. In Shimyong's eyes, Yoojin is acting super sus. Unable to take it anymore, Myung-woo tells Yoojin to stop and dashes away from the director's office. Outside the guild, Yoojin scratches his head and curses Director Sok. At the same time, Myung-woo only comments on how scary the director is. Hesitant to let things go just like this, Yoojin says he'll contact his brother, but Myung-woo stops him, saying that it was enough to know that he is valued. With Yoojin's encouragement, he will keep on trying whatever he can. Myung-woo then says there's a place that offers job for F-rankers, and they are coming right now to pick him up. A black van stops in front of them, as Myung-woo said it. The van door opens and a bunch of thug-like people are inside. The men inside exclaim that Myung-woo can pay his debt since he is now a hunter. Myung-woo really shouldn't trust people that easily. Myung-woo thanks Yoojin and says he'll make an honest living. Yoojin's face sweats with horror while keeping a smile. Unlike Myung-woo, Yoojin thinks that this is very sketchy. We need to save Myung-woo.